Once again, I'm Thomas and I'm codependent. My story I've entitled Beyond My Wildest Dreams. BC, before CoDA, I actually had a spiritual awakening before coming to CoDA. I was a lonely, depressed, drug dependent, suicidal teenager. When I was about to take my own life, I had been spiraling into deep depression for about 6 months. I had withdrawn from my family and my friends. I remember as I started my senior year of high school, that for a class assignment, our teacher had us write a poem. She wanted us to do 3 stanzas and a rhyme scheme. And this is what I wrote. Floating alone on an endless sea, crushing waves billow over me. The emptiness all around is the feeling that I have found. Desperate for the light of day, smothered in a cloud of gray, cascading darkness locked within, no hope for me to win. Sinking, sinking, sinking still. Are the voices really real? How does one devise a plan to remain a living man? To further express to you my state of mind, I'd like to read something else that I wrote. I'm alone with the trees. I breathe in the scent of the forest. I hear the soft rustling of the leaves. All is calm and hope for the day emerges as the sun breaks through. And I find the path layered with pine needles that cushion each step. The dew on the foliage glistens and adds to the brilliance of the morning. I suddenly hear a loud buzzing, a noise out of place. I look around, disturbed, annoyed, unable to locate where it's coming from. As I bring my hands to cover my ears, I awake in my bed to the sound of the alarm. When I slam my hand down on the cold metallic off button, it's as though I've crushed all hope. The weight of my reality hits me. I close my eyes and hear the condemning voices. I clasp my teeth and clench my fists to fight to face another day. The lingering days of my youth had drained into a dreary drought of an existence, and I was only 17 when I found myself burned out on life and feeling lost, completely, utterly lost in living in an unobserved life. My outer person was alive, but my inner person, my soul, felt dead. I was a walking dead person. I felt as though I were unnoticed, unimportant, and unwanted. The feeling of being thrown into the sea, tethered to a massive boulder, unable to free myself, left me with no hope, no desire to carry on. More and more, I entertained thoughts of exiting this cursed world. I began imagining a way out. The deep sense of loneliness and loss from my childhood had left me as a teenager on the edge, teetering on the precipice of insanity. I began to understand how a person begins to lose touch with reality and to live their life in a self-secluded cage where uncommon thoughts become a stage for acting out a derelict psychotic existence. I remember hearing Roger Waters from the rock group Pink Floyd. And in one of his songs, he's entitled Brain Damage, a line says, "There's someone in my head, but it's not me." I thought that Roger Waters knew what I was going through, but there was no hope at the end of the song. I began hearing voices telling me things and suggesting things that pushed me further into seclusion. No one cares about you. You're never going to be good enough. You're in the way. You're ugly and worthless. The only way out would be to die. So go ahead and end it all. You will not be missed. As a 17-year-old high school student, I survived the days by drowning my pain in drugs and alcohol for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I needed to feel alive. I hoped each new day would be the day that I'd find a reason to continue living. Day after day, I struggled to get up. Dark depression held me in its grip. Sleep would not come, and the thought of facing another day seemed overwhelming. But the drugs carried me through by numbing the inner pain of all the years of rejection, abuse, and my inability to be perfect. So, as fate would have it, and as the darkness began to close in around me, I was about to end it all by taking my own life. Then somehow, some way, I can't explain why it happened, but a thought came to me. You have to try to find a reason to live. Those words reverberated in the canyons of my consciousness into every crevice. Echo, you have to try. Echo, echo. You have to try to find a reason to live. I heard the words like one last final attempt to break me free from the smothering weight that was crushing all the life out of me. So in my attempt as a young man to try to find meaning in life, and I felt completely disconnected, the thought came to me just because of the state of mind I was in. It would be really neat to get something in the mail with my name on it. It would make me feel like I'm part of society, that I actually belong. So I sent off for free literature from the newspaper. I remember the first thing I got was about Eastern religions, which was enjoyable. I enjoyed that. Then I got information from the Rosicrucians and studied them a little bit. And then one day I saw something that was free in the paper called The Way Out. So I thought, wow, I'm looking for a way out. So I sent off for it. This ended up being literature that's talked about God. Everything I read went straight over my head. My concept of God was like the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, or Santa Claus. So one night in desperation, I decided, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. So for the first time in my life, I cried out to the unknown God that I didn't even know existed. Nothing happened. So I went to bed. But when I woke up the next morning and went outside, I realized something had changed inside of me. I don't know what it was, but it's as though the first time when I walked outside, it's as though I saw nature for the very first time. I remember seeing the trees and the leaves and the branches and the grass and the sky. And it's like nature just came alive. Um, I remember going to school that first morning after that. And I remember the first person I saw in the library, I said, "Hey, I have a question for you. What do you think about God?" And they're like, "What? What are you talking about?" I'm like, never mind. Um, I remember that later that afternoon after school, I ran into some of my old partying buddies that I had withdrawn from for about 6 months. And I walked up to them and I asked them the same thing. "Hey guys, what do y'all think about God?" And they're like, "Tommy, what have you been smoking, dude?" So this led me to, I had to figure out what had happened. I had no clue, had no one to talk to. And so that just led into just trying to figure stuff out in this, what had happened to me. Who was this God that somehow came in and intervened in my life? Um, the God of my understanding over the years taught me to practice many of the CoDA steps that I've recently learned about. I came into CoDA 1 year ago this month. My life had been good through the years. I was content. I had lived a full life. And actually, I was ready to go at any time. But life happens. And I was hit with the blow that knocked me off my feet. And I couldn't seem to get back up on my own. A friend suggested that I attend CoDA. I was in a very, very dark place. I didn't want to get out. I didn't want to socialize. I didn't feel like going, but I was so desperate that I made myself. I remember my friend bought me some literature. I bought some literature myself, and I started daily taking my CoDA vitamins. I started working the steps. Went into counseling. I got a sponsor. I attended group online and in person weekly. For attending in person meetings, what I would do is afterwards, I would reward myself with a milkshake. So I cannot tell you how many times I did not feel like getting dressed and driving to my in-person meeting, but I told myself, "Okay, Thomas, you don't get a milkshake if you don't go." So I would make myself get dressed and I'd get going to that meeting. So I had to bribe myself sometimes. Um, I remember the first few meetings. It was very emotional. I just remember sitting, listening to everyone share, but I instantly felt welcomed and safe. Everybody listened. Nobody made comments. There were no judgments. No one tried to tell anyone what they needed to do. And this, I really like that. I had read about the importance of sharing. So in spite of my fear, I made myself share. Over the past year, I've been able to attend conferences. I think it's called the International Conference they had in Houston last year, and also a state conference. And now I have a CoDA family. And not only that, I have some CoDA friends that I know that I could call up any time of day and they'd be there for me. Currently, as I finish up my 12th step, I'm currently sponsoring my second young man, and it feels so good to give back and to share my hope and strength and experience with them. I remember step one taught me that I'm not supposed to try to control others. The CoDA step two, I already believed in a power greater than myself. CoDA step three, I had already turned my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood God. But when I got to step four, that one cut like a knife. The searching and fearless moral inventory of myself, I began to see many patterns, many behaviors, unhealthy character traits that I didn't like about myself, that I wanted to change. I could be controlling and a perfectionist. I could give unasked advice way too often. I would bury my feelings, my wants, and my needs. I would caretake and be a martyr. I would avoid conflict to keep the peace, and the list goes on. I began to see that my unhealthy character traits were building walls instead of bridges in my close relationships. As I look back over the past year that I've been in CoDA, I'm kind of thankful now that I had to go through this dark season of the soul. Though it's been heart-wrenching and painful, I learned that many of my unhealthy character traits helped me survive my childhood. Now I no longer need them because now I'm safe. I'm learning in a new way to allow the God of my understanding to father me through all of my codependent behaviors. A CoDA friend recently gave me a card, and it says this on it: "It's okay to fall apart sometimes. Tacos fall apart and we still love them." I'm learning that I don't have to be perfect, that I don't have to figure everything out. It's okay when I blow it. I'm okay. I just continue to use the tools in my CoDA toolbox. I keep taking baby steps, one day at a time, one moment at a time, and that's manageable for me. I keep pressing on. I'll never give up. I use affirmations when I don't know what to think, when I don't know what to do. The God of my understanding is continuing to free me from my past, and I'm being freed beyond my wildest dreams. Thanks for listening.